What's going on, everyone? It's Gendo here, and you're watching Higher Tempo Press YouTube channel, where today we're going to have the first of our many Legends experiments with none other than Francesco Totti taking over as Roma manager. As the old saying goes, heroes get remembered, but legends never die, and that's especially true here with Francesco, as he has played his entire 24-year career at Rome, amassing almost 800 caps, 300 goals, and has gained citywide and nationwide acclaim. Now, he is going to be retiring at the end of this season. He's going to be moving into more of a director's role for Rome. He hasn't really confirmed or denied if he's going to be a manager in the near future, but the offer is on the table that he could become Roma manager at any time. So, the magic of football manager, let's see how well he gets on. And to begin this experiment, I simulated all the way to the start of the 2017-18 season to mimic in real life Francesco Totti retiring and then becoming a full-on staff member. Once that happened, I then made him manager of Roma, and that's all I did in the in-game editor. I did not touch any of his stats, and speaking of those stats, he looks like a very bang-on average manager. 11 attacking, 10 man management, 8 tactical, 10 technical. That's not very good on the coaching side, and even worse on the mental side. You're barely scratching the surface of 10s in some of areas like level of discipline, motivating, tactical knowledge. That's not good whatsoever. He may be in over his head for his first season here at Rome. He's going to have to rely on all of his scouts, all of his assistant coaches to help him through. So with that being said, let's take a look and see how he gets on first season at Roma. So we move ahead 1 year to the 24th of June 2018 at the end of Totti's first season. Is he still Roma manager? It does look like that he is, so he must have done something right. And he has grown in some of his stats. He has started to grow, especially in the attacking, as you would expect being an attacking-minded coach. But overall, let's take a look to see how Roma have fared in Serie A, and they finish in third place, 8 points behind winners Inter and 6 behind Juventus, tied with Napoli. So overall, not that good, but also not that bad of a season. They finished in Champions League contention for next season. So Totti doing something right in his first year as Roma manager. Let's take a look and see how well he did in the other competitions. And in his managerial debut versus Napoli, he loses 1-0 in extra time in the Italian Super Cup. Jose Callejon in the 119th minute getting the winner. Very hard luck for Roma there, but at the same time, they got a red card just a half hour in, so they were really shorthanded throughout the entirety of that match. Let's take a look at the European competitions. And it doesn't look like the previous manager was able to get them into the Champions League, so Europa League it is. And they absolutely stomped their group. Nacional, Club Brugge, and AZ coming away with 5 wins and a loss, getting themselves into the knockout stages, where they take on Hamburg in the first knockout round, beating them 3-1 on aggregate. Same aggregate score versus Athletic Bilbao in the next knockout round, which then saw them through to Mönchengladbach. They advance out of that as well, 4-2 on aggregate, but then they come up against Sevilla, and we all know how Sevilla do in the Europa League. They lost to them 1-1 on away goals. That one pesky away goal got Sevilla through to the final, and I believe Sevilla won the competition, so they lost to the eventual winners. There's no shame in that. But then let's take a look at the final competition, the Coppa Italia, and they lost to Juventus in the semifinals. Another semifinal berth in a cup competition, just not going all the way this year. They beat Parma and then Cittadella before losing 4-3 on aggregate to Juventus. And I also want to say Juventus were the eventual winners of the cup, which they were. So twice they lost to the eventual winners of the cup competition. So overall, not too terribly bad in the competitions, faring decent enough to keep his job. Let's take a look at some of the transfers that he has brought in this first season. Going for the ins, Juan Jesus, Bruno Perez from Torino, Federico Fazio, I believe is how you pronounce that, center back. Let's take a look at Bruno Perez, again, a wing back. So it looks like he was going defense once he first came into the club. Juan Jesus defense as well. Matthew Ryan, goalkeeper from Valencia. Let's take a look and see how he's developing. Not too terribly bad whatsoever. Then Jefferson, Juan P, Stefan Bergwijn. I never heard of you. You're 20 years old, so looking towards the future on that one. Lorenzo Pellegrini from Sassuolo as a center mid. Kenny Tete. He's being loaned in from Arsenal. Maybe some of you know who Kenny Tete is and has done well for you, but he does look like a fairly solid defender. Then you got Severo Marotta, who is a regen, and Bartolome Gaida, who is also a regen. So it looked like that he was going defensive and midfield heavy, not really going so much with the attacks, trying building up Roma's defense. A lot of outs, a lot of loans. But let's take a look at some players they released. either on a free or for cash. Palmieri, Zukanovic, Jomber, Kastan, Weinker, the Ricci's, I don't know if they're brothers or not. Seydou Doumbia released on a free, and of course Francesco Totti right here. But overall, it looks like he was trying to develop the defense and the midfield. It did work for a good portion of the season, I'm sure, but overall, not winning any titles. That's something that he's got to work on for the second season. So let's go take a look at that. Let's see how he gets on for one more season. So we move ahead exactly 1 year. It's the 24th of June 2019, and is Totti still Roma manager? He is, so he must have done something right once again. And also, he's also moving up in coaching and mental attributes by the year, so he's becoming a better coach the more he stays at Rome. Now let's take a look and see how he's fared over the season. Did he get better than third place? He did. He came in second place this time around, but that's not much to say as Juventus completely walks the league by 16 points. But Roma coming in second, not all that bad either. At least he had himself a little bit of a jump, which I don't know how much you want to argue that moving up from third to second is a jump. But anyway, let's take a look and see how Roma fared in the other competitions. And that's taking a look at the Champions League in general, and as well as the Europa League. And I have them both up here because the reasoning why is they lost to PSV in the playoffs. They beat Lokomotiv Moscow in the third qualifying round 6-0, but against PSV they lost 3-2 on aggregate, forcing them out of the Champions League into the Europa League, and they actually took on a couple of familiar foes, Lokomotiv Moscow and AZ from last year, as well as Steaua Bucharest, where they completely walked the group 6-0 to get themselves through to the knockout stages once again. They took on Mainz and beaten them by the score of 3-2, a little bit shaky this time around, before eventually losing to PSG. How did PSG get down to the Europa League? They must not have fared all that well. They probably had a very, very tough group to get down to the Europa League. But anyway, they lose 2-1 on aggregate in the second knockout stage, so a lot worse than the last season. And then finally, in the Italian Cup, how well they do here. They won it! A Coppa Italia for Francesco Totti in his second season, taking on Sassuolo, then Milan, and then Catania, a 6-1 aggregate victory versus Catania, before eventually beating Napoli 1-0 with Arturo Barone. I have no idea who you are. Arturo Barone, a 16-year-old regen, scored the winner for Roma over Napoli. Can you believe it? That is probably the most unprecedented thing I can see in a Football Manager game. But anyway, it's a trophy. It's a cup victory for Francesco Totti. And that's probably going to be the first of many for him. And finally, let's take a look at the transfers that he brought in. Jeffrey Adelaide. He brought in a pair from Arsenal, Jeffrey Adelaide, and another loan in from Kenny Tete. Gabriel Bielsa out on a free. He's a regen. Sardar Azmoun, 24-year-old. I do not know anything about you. He is a striker. He looks like a fairly decent striker at that. But outside of that, I have no idea anything about you. Samir Nasri on loan, excuse me. Eduardo Goldeniga? Eduardo Goldeniga as a defensive back. Looks fairly decent. And then Adam Messina, defensive left. Okay, so we picked up, once again, mostly defense with a little sprinklings of attack in there as well. But let's take a look and see who then released. Costas Manolas out to Real Madrid for 28.5 million euros. That is quite a haul-in, I'm sure. Christian Durso out to Torino. And you got Arturo Calabrese out to Palermo. Lucas Skoropski going out to Inter Milan. Outside of that, Pepan to Getafe. Elio Carpadossi out to Cagliari, and then a whole bunch of free transfers. So, yeah, a decent amount of people coming in that I'm sure helped him out in the long run, especially in that Coppa Italia. So it looks like Totti has the ability to become a decent manager, and he showed that over the last few seasons. It's just unfortunate he was not able to win the big one, either a Serie A or a Champions League title. Maybe if he had another couple seasons, bringing in some players and whatnot to fill out his squad, he could have achieved his goal. But anyway, Roma fans, please let me know down below what you thought about this experiment. Do you see Totti becoming a manager in the near future, whether it's for you guys or for somebody else? And for everyone else that's watching, please leave in the comment box below any suggestions you would like to see for further experiments on this channel. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the Higher Tempo YouTube page. And as always, this is Gendo, and I'll see you next time. Take care, and peace out.